Uncle, you're just a nobody. Olivia's words cut across the dinner table like shattered glass, her laugh sharp and deliberate. She was my son, Jason's fiancée, 27, beautiful in a way that hid her cruelty, her manicured hand resting casually on her wine glass as if mocking me was sport. Beside her sat her mother Amelia, elegant but cold, her smirk dripping with approval, as though she had trained her daughter to wound with precision. The chandelier's glow reflected off the polished oak table, making every eye at the dinner stiffen. My fork froze above the plate, mashed potatoes clinging to the tines, my knuckles pale from the grip. Jason, my only son, couldn't meet my gaze, his shoulders hunched, his eyes locked on his food, silent. That silence stung worse than Olivia's words. I am John Kelly, 61, and to them I was a relic. Old, irrelevant, a man fading into the background. But as I sat there, rage simmering beneath my calm exterior, one thought burned in my mind: they don't know me, not yet. Soon, Amelia would type my name into Google, and when she did, the world they thought they controlled would crumble. Rage simmered beneath my calm exterior, a slow burn in my chest. My knuckles widened around the fork, but I didn't flinch. Not yet. The dining room, with its crystal glasses and flickering candles, had been warm moments ago. Now it felt like a stage, and I was the fool in the spotlight. Olivia tilted her head, her blonde curls catching the light. What's it like, John? Sitting in your little house, reliving your glory days. A tone dripped with mockery, each word a needle. I mean, Jason told me you used to wear those old suits to work. What were you, a clerk? Amelia chuckled, tapping her wine glass with a lacquered nail. Oh, Olivia, be kind. Not everyone can keep up with the times. Some people fade. Her eyes flicked to me, cold and appraising, like I was a piece of furniture she decided to discard. Jason shifted in his seat, his fork scraping the plate. He didn't look up. My chest tightened. I wanted to reach across the table, grab his shoulder, make him see me, but his silence cut deeper than Olivia's words. My own son letting this happen. I set the fork down, the clink loud in the stillness. Every eye was on me. Olivia's triumphant. Amelia's smug. Jason's averted. The candles cast long shadows across the tablecloth, dancing like ghosts of the life I'd built. They thought they knew me, old, irrelevant John Kelly, a relic to be pitied. They were wrong. Olivia, I said, my voice low, steady. You think you know me? I leaned forward just enough to catch her gaze. A smile faltered just for a second. But you don't. The room held its breath. Amelia raised an eyebrow, but I didn't look at her. My eyes stayed on Olivia, on the flicker of uncertainty in her green eyes. I pushed my chair back, the legs scraping the hardwood floor. Excuse me, I said, standing. My hands were steady, but my heart pounded like a war drum. I walked out of the dining room, their whispers trailing behind me like smoke. The hallway was dim, the air cooler. My steps slowed as I passed the family portrait hanging on the wall. Me, Emmy, and Jason, smiling in a world that no longer existed. Emmy's eyes seemed to follow me, her warmth of ghost in the frame. I stopped, my fingers brushing the glass. Olivia's laugh echoed in my mind, sharp and mocking. They'd find out soon enough. When Amelia Googled my name, their world would crumble. But first, I needed to remind myself who I was. I turned toward my study, the door creaking as I pushed it open. The night was just beginning. The study door clicked shut behind me, muffling the distant clink of dishes from the dining room. I stood in the quiet, the air heavy with the scent of old books and polished wood. My desk loomed in a corner, a sturdy oak relic from a life that felt like someone else's. On it sat the family photo, Emmy's smile frozen in time, Jason's small hand in mine. I crossed the room, my shoes soft on the warm rug, and picked up the frame. My thumb traced the edge, the glass cool under my touch. The memory hit like a wave. It was 1997 and I was 34, striding through the glass doors of an investment bank in downtown Chicago. The office buzzed, phones ringing, papers shuffling, the hum of ambition. My desk was buried under reports, a coffee mug teetering on the edge. My boss, Harold, leaned against the doorframe, his tie loosened. "Kelly, you're in line for VP," he said, tossing a folder onto my desk. "Big accounts, corner office. You want it?" I'd wanted it. God, I'd wanted it. But Emmy's cough had worsened that week, her face pale against the hospital pillows. I saw her in my mind, her hands squeezing mine, her voice soft. "We'll be okay, John." I looked at Harold, my throat tight. "I need to be home," I said. He blinked, then nodded, disappointment flickering in his eyes. I left the folder unopened. The memory shifted. It was 2004 now, our kitchen small and cluttered, the fridge humming in the corner. Jason was 16, all lanky limbs and quiet rebellion. I sat at the table writing a check for his private school tuition, my fingers cramped from overtime at a job that paid half what I'd earned before. The pen scratched the paper, each zero a promise. Jason breezed through, grabbing an apple. "Thanks, Dad," he mumbled, already halfway out the door. He didn't see the stack of bills beside me, didn't know I'd turned down a better job to stay close. Another flash, 2012, Jason's college graduation. The auditorium packed with proud families. I sat alone in the back, my suit a size too big, my hands folded in my lap. On stage, Jason gripped his diploma, grinning. "I want to thank my friends," he said into the mic, his voice echoing. "You got me here." The crowd clapped. I waited, my chest tight, but my name never came. I clapped too, my hands heavy, my smile a mask. Back in the study, I set the photo down, my breath uneven. I'd given everything, my career, my dreams, my pride for them. And now Olivia's voice rang in my ears. "You're just a nobody." Jason's silence stung worse. I'd become invisible, a shadow in my own life. I sank into the chair, the leather creaking under me. My eyes fell on the desk drawer, half open, a corner of my old address book peeking out. I pulled it free, the leather cover worn soft, the pages yellowed. It smelled of time, of deals closed and promises kept. This book held names, people who'd once called me a force, a man who could move mountains. I hadn't opened it in years. My fingers traced the names, each one a thread to a past I'd buried. I wasn't that man anymore, or was I? Olivia and Amelia thought they could bury me with their words, but they didn't know the weight I'd carried, the strength it took to let go of glory for love. I flipped a page, then another, my pulse quickening. There, Frank Sullivan. A name that could change everything. I stopped, my thumb pressing the paper. A smile tugged at my lips, small but real. The rage from the dining room was still there, but now it had focus. I closed the book, the sound sharp in the quiet. Standing, I slipped it into my pocket and headed for the door. The phone was in the living room, and I had a call to make. The living room was dim, the torsia casting a soft glow across the old couch. I stood by the coffee table, the address book heavy in my hand, its leather warm from my grip. The phone sat on the side table, a black, cordless relic that hadn't rung in weeks. My thumb hovered over the buttons. The numbers from Frank Sullivan's page burned into my mind. Olivia's sneer echoed in my head. "You're just a nobody." And my jaw tightened. I wasn't that man? Not anymore, I dialed, each beep loud in the quiet. My heart thudded a mix of fear and fire. What if Frank didn't remember me? What if he did but laughed? The line clicked and a gruff voice answered. "Sullivan Frank," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "It's John Kelly." A pause, then a low chuckle. "John Kelly, as I live and breathe. Been a minute, hasn't it? Too long?" I forced a smile, though he couldn't see it. "I need to talk in person." "You free tomorrow?" Another pause, longer this time. "What's this about, John?" His tone shifted, curious, like he sensed the weight behind my words. "Let's just say I'm calling in an old favor." I glanced at the address book, open to his name. "You still at the club?" "Yeah, new work." His voice had an edge now, like he knew this wasn't just a catch-up. I kept it short, my fingers tightening on the phone. "See you then." "Looking forward to it, Kelly." The line went dead. I set the phone down, my breath slowly. The room felt small, the air charged. I crossed to the window, the curtains half drawn. and looked out at the street. The neighborhood was quiet, the lawns manicured, the houses glowing with lives I'd never known. My reflection stared back, eyes sharp in the glass. For the first time in years, I recognized myself. A memory flickered. In 5, a sleek Chicago restaurant. All dark wood and clinking glasses. I was 32, my suit crisp, my handshake firm. Across the table, a client leaned forward, his pen poised over a contract. "You drive a hard bargain, Kelly," he said, but his smile was respectful. I'd closed the deal in 20 minutes, the waiters nodding as I passed. That man, confident, unstoppable, felt close again, his pulse beating in my veins. I turned from the window, the address book still in my hand. Olivia and Amelia thought they'd broken me, but they'd only woken me up. Jason's silence hurt, but I'd show him who his father was. I wouldn't lose him to their poison. I slipped the book into my pocket, its weight like a key to a door I'd locked long ago. Tomorrow Frank would open that door and I'd walk through. I didn't know what he'd tell me about Amelia's secrets, Olivia's games, or something else entirely, but it was a start. I grabbed my coat from the rack. The fabric soft and familiar. The night air would clear my head. I stepped outside, locking the door behind me. The stars were bright overhead, sharp against the black, like they were watching. I climbed into my car, the engine humming to life. Frank was waiting and I was ready. The stars were still sharp overhead as I pulled into the parking lot of the golf club, their light a faint promise in the spring dusk. I cut the engine, my hand lingering on the keys. The address book rested in my jacket pocket, its weight a reminder of the man I used to be. I stepped out, the gravel crunching under my shoes, and adjusted my tie. The club's glass doors gleamed ahead, reflecting the manicured greens and the elite who glided across them. This was their world, Amelia's, Olivia's, but today I was stepping into it. Inside, the air smelled of polished wood and expensive cigars. The bar was tucked in a corner, its marble counter catching the afternoon sun. Frank Sullivan sat at a high-top table, his grey hair thinning, but his eyes as sharp as I remembered. He raised a glass of bourbon in greeting, his smile half-cocked. "John Kelly," he said as I approached, his voice growly. "Didn't think I'd see you here again." I slid onto the stool across from him, my fingers brushing the address book through my jacket. "Times change," I said, keeping my tone light. The bartender polished a glass nearby, his ears perked. I leaned in closer. "I need your help, Frank." He swirled his drink, ice clinking. "Figured as much." "What's got you crawling out of retirement?" His eyes flicked over me, sizing me up like we were back in the nines closing deals over steak dinners. Olivia and I both were quite, with lowered voice, Amelia's living on borrowed time. "John, that big house. Second mortgage maxed out. She's been dodging creditors for months." He sipped his bourbon, eyes locked on mine. "As for Olivia, she's hunting." "Your boy's trust fund is her ticket to the good life." My pulse quickened, but I kept my face still. Amelia's smug smile at the dinner table flickered in my memory, her manicured nails tapping her wine glass. Broke, desperate, and Olivia clinging to Jason like a vulture. I felt a spark of something. Anger, yes, but also clarity. They weren't untouchable. "How bad is it?" I asked, my voice low. "Amelia's debt." Frank chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "Bad enough that one wrong move could sink her. She's banking on Olivia's marriage to bail her out." He paused, his fingers drumming the table. "You sure you want to play this game, Kelly? It's not the old days." I met his gaze, my hand slipping into my pocket to touch the address book. He studied me, then nodded. "All right, but you didn't hear this from me." He slid a business card across the table, the edge catching the sunlight. "Call this guy. He's got details, bank records, the works, discreet." I picked up the card, its surface smooth under my thumb. A key maybe to unlocking their facade. I pulled out my pen and jotted a note in the address book. The scratch of ink loud in my ears. The light from the bar's windows glinted off the glass table, sharp and clear like my thoughts. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was moving. "Thanks, Frank," I said, pocketing the card. "I owe you." He waved a hand, his smile wry. "Just don't get yourself in too deep." He drained his glass and stood, clapping my shoulder. "Good seeing you, John." I watched him go, his silhouette blending into the crowd of tailored suits and clinking glasses. My chest felt lighter, but my mind raced.
Amelia's deaths. Olivia's greed.
Pieces of a puzzle I could use. But Jason, would he see through them or turn away from me? The thought stung, but I pushed it down.
One step at a time, I stood, the address book a steady weight against my heart.
Outside, the air was cool, the stars fading into the afternoon haze. I slid into my car, the business card in my hand. Its edges were crisp, promising answers.
I turned it over, my eyes narrowing.
The game was on, and I was ready to play. The study was quiet, the desk lamp casting a warm pool of light across my laptop. The business card from Frank lay beside it, its corner sharp, a key to the door. Door I was about to open. I leaned back in my chair, the leather creaking, and stared at the screen. Everything was according to my plan. I previously know that Olivia's accounts would dry and fade, but a pang hit me. Jason, what if he blamed me? What if this pushed him further away? I gripped the edge of the desk, my knuckles pale. No, I couldn't stop now. They'd mocked me, dismissed me. I'd show them who John Kelly was.
I hit print, the machine humming to life.
The paper slid out, crisp and clean.
No signature, no trace.
I folded it carefully, sliding it into an envelope I bought that morning. Plain, unremarkable. My pen scratched her address, each letter deliberate. The envelope felt heavy in my hands, like a grenade with the pin half pulled. I stood, the chair scraping the floor, and glanced at the clock. Just past 6, the postbox was a short walk, and I wanted this done tonight. I slipped the envelope into my coat pocket and opened the study door. It creaked, a low groan that felt like the house itself was waking up. The hallway was dim, the family photo on the wall catching the light. Emmy's smile steadied me. This was for her, too, for the life we'd built, the sacrifices they'd trampled.
Outside, the air was crisp, the streetlights buzzing faintly.
The postbox stood at the corner, its blue bulk solid in the dusk. I walked quickly, my breath fogging in the March chill. The envelope pressed against my chest, a secret I was about to unleash. I reached the box, my hand on the handle, and paused. In my mind I saw Amelia again, her face paling as she opened the letter, her fingers trembling. "Olivia," she'd say, her voice bright with pride. "They've chosen me." She had no idea. I pulled the handle, the slot yawning open. The envelope dropped with a soft thud. Done. A rush hit me. Part thrill, part guilt. I'd crossed a line and there was no going back. Headlights swept the street and I stepped into the shadows. A car slowed.
Olivia's sleek BMW, unmistakable. My heart jumped. Had she seen me?
The car rolled past, her silhouette vague through the tinted windows. I exhaled, my hands clenching. She hadn't stopped, but the sight of her so close lit a fire in me. This was just the beginning. I turned back toward the house, the night closing in. The game was moving, and I was no longer the prey. The banquet hall's glow spilled onto the sidewalk as I approached, the red carpet leading to glass doors that reflected the city's skyline. Olivia's BMW pulled up just ahead, its engine purring before it parked. I adjusted my tie and slipped inside, keeping to the shadows near the entrance. The air was thick with perfume and the clink of champagne flutes, the crowd a sea of sequins and tailored suits. I stayed by a column, my eyes scanning for Amelia. The trap was set, and I was here to watch it spring. The hall was a spectacle, crystal chandeliers casting prisms on the walls, a string quartet humming in the corner. Amelia stood on a raised platform, her emerald gown catching the light as she smiled at the podium. Her voice carried polished and proud. "This cause means so much to me," she said, her hands gesturing grandly.
"I'm thrilled to pledge $50,000 tonight." The crowd clapped, but I saw the auctioneer's assistant frown, her tablet glowing as she tapped the screen.
My pulse quickened. I leaned against the column, my fingers brushing the address book in my pocket. The assistant whispered to the auctioneer, who stepped forward, his smile tight.
"Mrs. Wilson," he said, his voice amplified, "there seems to be an issue with your payment." Amelia froze, her hand mid-gesture.
The room stilled, the quartet's notes fading.
"An issue?" she repeated, her laugh brittle. "That's impossible."
"Try it again." The auctioneer glanced at his assistant, who shook her head. "I'm sorry, ma'am. The transaction was declined." His words hung in the air, sharp as a blade. Whispers rippled through the crowd, heads turning. Amelia's face flushed, her eyes darting to the sea of faces.
"This is a mistake," she snapped, her voice cracking. "I'll handle it later." The auctioneer nodded, but the damage was done.
Guests leaned toward each other, their murmurs growing. I caught fragments overextended, living beyond her means. Amelia gripped the podium, her knuckles white, her smile a mask slipping fast. In the corner, Olivia pulled Jason aside, her face twisted with fury.
"This is your fault," she hissed, her voice low but venomous.
"Your family's dragging us down." Jason's shoulders slumped, his hands raised in defense. "Olivia, I didn't," he started, but she cut him off,
her heels clicking as she stormed toward Amelia.
My chest tightened. Seeing Jason caught in her claws hurt, but Amelia's fall was sweeter. I'd done this, plotted, waited, struck. The letter had worked, luring her into a spotlight she couldn't afford. But the sight of Jason's bowed head nodded at me. What if he hated me for this? I pushed the thought away, focusing on Amelia's unraveling. I edged toward the side doors, the wood cool under my palm. Part of me wanted to stay, to drink in every second of her humiliation, but I'd seen enough. The whispers would spread, her reputation fraying like cheap thread. Olivia's panic was a bonus, her control slipping. This was just the first cut. My phone buzzed in my pocket.
I slipped it out.
The screen glowing with a text from Ava, Emmy's old friend.
"John, we need to talk. Can you meet tomorrow?"
My thumb hovered over the reply. Ava, sharp, loyal, always in the know. What did she have for me? The fabric soft and familiar. The night air would clear my head. I stepped outside, locking the door behind me. The stars were bright overhead, sharp against the black, like they were watching. I climbed into my car, the engine humming to life. Frank was waiting and I was ready. The stars were still sharp overhead as I pulled into the parking lot of the golf club, their light a faint promise in the spring dusk. I cut the engine, my hand lingering on the keys. The address book rested in my jacket pocket, its weight a reminder of the man I used to be. I stepped out, the gravel crunching under my shoes, and adjusted my tie. The club's glass doors gleamed ahead, reflecting the manicured greens and the elite who glided across them. This was their world, Amelia's, Olivia's, but today I was stepping into it. Inside, the air smelled of polished wood and expensive cigars. The bar was tucked in a corner, its marble counter catching the afternoon sun. Frank Sullivan sat at a high-top table, his grey hair thinning but his eyes as sharp as I remembered. He raised a glass of bourbon in greeting, his smile half-cocked. "John Kelly," he said as I approached, his voice grawly. "Didn't think I'd see you here again." I slid onto the stool across from him, my fingers brushing the address book through my jacket. "Times change," I said, keeping my tone light. The bartender polished a glass nearby, his ears perked.
I leaned in closer. "I need your help, Frank." He swirled his drink, ice clinking. "Figured as much."
"What's got you crawling out of retirement?" His eyes flicked over me, sizing me up like we were back in the nines closing deals over steak dinners. Olivia and I both were quite, with lowered voice, Amelia's living on borrowed time. "John, that big house. Second mortgage maxed out. She's been dodging creditors for months." He sipped his bourbon, eyes locked on mine.
"As for Olivia, she's hunting."
"Your boy's trust fund is her ticket to the good life." I typed a quick yes, noon, and pocketed the phone. I pushed the door open, the night air cool against my face. The city hummed beyond, its lights bright and unforgiving. I walked to my car, the text from Ava looping in my mind. Amelia's stumble was just the start, and Ava's message felt like the next piece falling into place. The cafe's door chimed as I pushed it open, the scent of fresh coffee wrapping around me like a warm blanket. My phone was still in my hand, Ava's message glowing on the screen. "Meet me at Rosie's, 11 a.m. I slipped it into my pocket, my eyes scanning the room. There she was near the window, her auburn hair catching the morning light. Ava waved, her smile soft, but knowing like she'd been waiting for this moment as long as I had.
My chest tightened. Hope, nostalgia, a flicker of the past.
I crossed the hardwood floor, the creak of my shoes blending with the hum of conversation. The cafe was cozy, all wooden tables and mismatched mugs, sunlight streaming through tall windows. I slid into the chair across from Ava, the warmth of the ceramic mug she'd ordered for me grounding my nerves. "You look good, John," she said, her voice gentle, like she was testing the waters. "Thanks," I said, my fingers curling around the mug. "It's been a while." Emmy's laugh flashed in my mind, her hand on Ava's shoulder during those long-ago summer barbecues. I pushed the memory down, focusing on Ava's steady gaze. She leaned forward, her elbows on the table.
"I heard about the dinner," she said, her tone shifting sharper now. Olivia's little stunt.
"Calling you a nobody in your own home." Her lips pressed thin, and I saw the fire in her eyes, the same fire Emmy had when someone crossed her. I nodded, my jaw tight. "She and Amelia think they've got me figured out. They're wrong." Ava's smile returned, small but fierce. "Good, because I've got something you'll want to hear." She glanced around, her voice dropping.
"Olivia's not just after Jason's money."
"She's tangled up with a guy, some lowlife who's been fleecing people for years. They're planning to use your son's trust fund to bankroll their scam." My breath caught. The mug suddenly heavy in my hands. Olivia's sneer at the dinner table flashed back, her green eyes cold and calculating. I'd known she was greedy, but this a con artist pulling her strings. My pulse quickened, anger mixing with a strange relief.
This was leverage. Real leverage. How do you know? I asked, keeping my voice low.
Ava's eyes flicked to the window, then back to me. "I've got friends who talk, people who see things." She paused, her fingers tapping the table.
"Emmy always said you were sharp."
"John said you could outsmart anyone. So what's your move?" I leaned back, the chair creaking. The cafe's warmth felt distant now, my mind racing. Olivia's scam could ruin Jason, but if I played this right, it could ruin her instead. "We set a trap," I said, the words forming as I spoke. "Something she can't resist."
"A fake deal."
"Maybe get her to show her hand." Ava's eyes lit up. "I like it." I compose as a go-between. "Feed her a story about a big investor. She's greedy."
"She'll bite."
She reached into her purse and pulled out a faded photo, sliding it across the table.
Emmy and Ava laughing on a beach, their hair whipped by the wind. "For luck," she said softly, "and because she'd want us to do this." I touched the photo, my throat tight. Emmy's smile was a lifeline, a reminder of why I was fighting. "She would," I said, my voice rough.
I slipped the photo into my pocket next to the address book.
"Who do we need to pull this off?"
Ava's smile turned sly.
"I've got a name. I'll contact yours, actually."
She handed me a napkin, her handwriting neat and precise. I glanced at it, keeping it angled from the other patrons.
"A name, but I didn't read it aloud. Not here."
"Perfect," I said, folding the napkin and tucking it away. The plan was taking shape, a web I'd weave around Olivia. But Jason's face, his silence at the dinner, nodded at me. What if he didn't see the truth? What if he chose her? I pushed the fear down, focusing on Ava's steady gaze. We stood, the table wobbling slightly as we pushed our chairs back. Outside, the spring air was crisp, the street bustling with midday shoppers. As we stepped onto the sidewalk, something slipped from my pocket. A business card yellowed with age, fluttering to the ground. I bent to pick it up, my fingers brushing the familiar name.
A slow smile spread across my face.
This was the key I needed. I sat in my study, the old business card between my fingers, its edges worn, but the name still clear. My phone buzzed on the desk, Ava's message lighting up the screen. "In the office, she's here." My pulse jumped, a steady thrum in my chest.
Olivia was walking into the trap, and I was miles away orchestrating it all.
The address book lay open beside me, a reminder of the man who'd closed deals with a handshake.
That man was back.
I leaned back, the chair creaking, and pictured the scene Ava had described. A sleek Chicago office, all glass walls and polished steel, the kind of place Olivia would feel at home. Ava, posing as an investor's assistant, would be offering her a deal too good to pass up. A high-stakes venture that needed connected partners. Olivia, greedy and blind, would take the bait. My phone buzzed again.
She's talking.
Recording now, I exhaled, my fingers tightening on the card.
Ava was good.
Better than good. She'd play Olivia like a fiddle, and every word would be caught on tape. I stood pacing the study, the rug soft under my shoes. The air smelled of wood polish and time, the family photo on the desk watching me. Emmy's eyes seemed to urge me on. I imagined Olivia in that office. Her blonde curls perfect, her smile all charm. I know just the person, she'd say, tossing out the name of her con artist partner like it was a business card. She wouldn't suspect Ava's hidden recorder wouldn't see the net closing. The thought sent a thrill through me, but a shadow followed. Jason, if I sent him this recording, would he believe it? Or would he cling to Olivia, shutting me out for good? My steps slowed, my hand brushing the address book. Emmy had always believed in me.
I had to trust Jason would too. Another buzz. Got it.
She named him Vincent Cole, sending you the file. My heart leapt.
Vincent Cole, a name I could use, a thread to pull.
I opened my laptop, the screen glowing in the dim room. The file arrived, a tiny audio clip that held Olivia's downfall.
I didn't play it, not yet.
Instead, I pulled a blank envelope from the drawer and slipped a USB drive inside. No signature. Jason would get it anonymously, delivered to his office tomorrow. I sealed the envelope, my hand steady, but my mind racing. Olivia's voice, her betrayal, would hit Jason like a freight train. But what then? Would he confront her or bury it? I pushed the doubt away, focusing on the task. The USB felt like a key, unlocking the truth I'd been chasing. I slid the business card into the drawer, its job done for now. The address book stayed on the desk, a silent partner in this game. I grabbed my coat, the envelope tucked inside. The postbox was a quick drive, and I wanted this done before I lost my nerve. The hallway was quiet as I passed the family photo, Emmy's smile a steadying force. I opened the front door, the evening air cool against my face, and stepped outside with different questions in my mind. Olivia was teetering, and Amelia was next. I climbed into my car, the engine humming to life. The envelope pressed against my chest, a promise I'd deliver. But Amelia's presence was a warning. Time was running out, and the game was far from over. Amelia's car gleamed under the streetlight, its chrome bumper a stark contrast to the quiet of Jason's suburban street. I stood in the shadows, my breath shallow, the envelope with the USB still in my coat pocket. From inside Jason's house, raised voices spilled out. Amelia's sharp and frantic, cutting through the evening air. My plan had hit her hard, and she was flailing. I edged closer, the grass damp under my shoes, and pressed myself against the hedge. The words were clear now, and they were about me. Inside Amelia's house, just hours earlier, the scene had been chaos. I pictured it vividly, piecing it together from the whispers I'd set in motion. She'd torn open a letter. Its letterhead had official. The words brutal, her debts, her missed payments, splashed across a local gossip column for all of Chicago's elite to see. Her hands would have shaken, the paper crumpling as she screamed into her phone, blaming everyone, her accountant, her lawyer, even Olivia. But the truth was out.
A wound I'd inflicted with a few well-placed calls and a leak to the right people.
Her empire of appearances was crumbling. Now in Jason's living room, she was lashing out.
"It's your father!" she shouted, her voice a jagged edge.
"He's behind this, Jason. He's trying to ruin me." I peered through the window, the curtains half open. Amelia stood in the center of the room, her silk blouse wrinkled, her hair slipping from its perfect bun. Jason sat on the couch, his face tight, while Olivia hovered near the doorway, her arms crossed. I held my breath, my heart pounding. Amelia's accusation was a wild swing, but it was dangerous. If Jason believed her, if he turned on me, everything could unravel. But I saw his eyes narrowed, uncertain. He wasn't buying it, not yet.
"Amelia, calm down," Jason said, his voice low but firm.
"You don't know it was him, don't I?" She snapped, pacing like a caged animal. "He's bitter, Jason, jealous of Olivia, of us. He's a nobody who can't stand our success." Her words echoed Olivia's from that dinner, and my jaw clenched. Nobody? The word was their weapon, but it was losing its edge.
I shifted, my hand brushing the address book in my pocket.
I'd orchestrated this, fed the press just enough to expose Amelia's lies without leaving a trace. The bleak was clean, untraceable, but her panic was proof it had landed. She was unraveling, her status slipping through her fingers like sand. Olivia stepped forward, her voice icy. "If it's John, he's smarter than I thought." Her eyes flicked to Jason, testing him. "But you'd know, wouldn't you?"
"He's your father."
Jason's head snapped up, his fists clenching.
"Leave it, Olivia."
The tension in his voice sent a chill through me. He was caught between them, but his doubt in Amelia was a crack I could widen. Amelia whirled on me, though she didn't know I was there. "He's a vindictive old man," she spat.
"You'll see Jason, he'll drag you down with him."
Her voice broke, and I saw it. Fear, not just of me, but of losing everything. Her status, her control, her daughter's future. She was bleeding out, and I'd barely lifted a finger. I stepped back, my shoes silent on the grass. I'd heard enough. Amelia's counterattack was desperate, but it was failing. Jason's silence, his doubt, was my victory. I turned toward the street, the envelope still in my pocket. The USB would reach him soon, and Olivia would fall next. But Amelia's words lingered, a warning. She wasn't done fighting. I drove home, the night closing in, and parked in my driveway. The house was dark, the air heavy. As I stepped inside, my study felt like a sanctuary. The desk lamp casting a soft glow. I found evidence on Olivia's laptop. My mobile ranged Ava's name flashed.
I answered, my voice low. "What's happening?" "Amelia's losing it," Ava said, her tone sharp with excitement.
"She's at home digging through your past, Googling you like her life depends on it." I gave a war-winning smile.
Ava found a photo of me at a gala.
Emmy on my arm, her smile brighter than the flashbolts. Amelia's world built on status and lies would crumble as she realized her mistake.
"Thanks, Ava," I said, my voice steady.
"Let me know how it lands." I hung up, my gaze drifting to the laptop. I clicked the family folder, revealing photos and letters, but my mind was on Amelia. I saw her now, her face paling as she scrolled, her coffee cup forgotten, spilling on her desk. She'd thought me irrelevant, a shadow to mock. Now she'd see the man who'd outplayed her. Hours later, I stood in Jason's living room, the air thick with tension. The family photo from my house seemed to echo in the one on his mantel.
Us years ago, smiling.
Amelia and Olivia stood before me, their faces strained. Jason lingered by the couch, his eyes flickering between us, a new weight in his gaze. Respect, maybe. I held the photo of Emmy Ava had given me, its edges soft in my hand, her strength grounding me. Amelia stepped forward, her voice trembling. "John, we didn't know," she said, her usual poise gone. "Your career, your life, we misjudged you."
"I'm sorry."
Her eyes begged, but they were hollow, grasping for control she'd lost. Olivia nodded, her hands twisting a bracelet. "I was wrong, John," she said, her voice small, forced.
"I didn't mean to hurt you."
Ava was waiting by my car, her arms crossed, her smile soft but knowing. The evening air was cool, the streetlights buzzing faintly. "You did it, John?" she said, her voice warm. "They're done. Now what?" I paused, the photo still in my hand, Emmy's presence steadying me. "Now," I said, "we talk about what's next." Ava nodded, gesturing to her car. I followed, my steps lighter, the night opening before us like a new chapter. The park was quiet, the morning sun filtering through budding trees, casting dappled light on the path. I sat on a bench beside Ava, a paper coffee cup warming my hands. The air smelled of fresh grass and spring, a world waking up. Ava's presence was steady, her shoulder brushing mine as we talked, her voice a soft anchor after the storm. She'd been waiting by my car last night. Her offer to talk, pulling me here to this moment of calm after the chaos. "Livia's gone," Ava said, sipping her coffee. "She broke off the engagement this morning, packed her things and left Jason's place." Her eyes met mine, a spark of triumph in them.
"And Amelia, she's a ghost now."
"The country club's blacklisted her, and her so-called friends won't return her calls." I nodded, the weight of it settling in. Amelia's empire, built on borrowed money and borrowed time, had collapsed. Olivia's schemes, her con artist partner exposed, had crumbled under the truth I'd sent Jason on that USB. I'd won, but the victory was bittersweet. Jason's silence at the dinner table, his bowed head as Olivia and Amelia tore into me, still stung.
I wanted him back, not just his respect.
Ava set her cup down, her hand resting on the bench. "You're quiet," she said, her tone gentle. "What's on your mind?" I looked at the coffee, steam curling in the cool air.
"Jason," I said. "I got their respect, Ava, but I don't know if I've got him." My voice was rough, the fear I buried rising.
"Well, what if he can't forgive me for this?" She touched my arm, her fingers light but firm. "Give him time, John. He's seeing you now."
"Really seeing you?"
"That's a start." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed.
"A text from Jason. Dad, can we talk at the house, please?"
My heart jumped, hope and dread tingling in my chest. I showed Ava the screen and she smiled.
"Go," she said.
"He's ready." I drove to Jason's house, the streets familiar but heavy with memory. His front door was open when I arrived, the living room warm with morning light. A photo of us, me, Emmy, Jason as a boy, sat on the coffee table, its frame polished like he'd been looking at it. He stood by the window, his shoulders tense, but his eyes met mine, clear and steady. "Dad," he said, his voice breaking.
I was blind. Olivia, Amelia, they fed me lies and I let them.
"But you," he stepped closer, his hands clenched. "You were always there, sacrificing everything."
I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
The words hit like a wave, washing away years of distance.
I swallowed, my throat tight. "I just wanted you to know who I am, Jason," I said. "Not for apologies."
"For respect." He nodded, his eyes bright.
"I do. I see you now."
He reached out, his hand gripping mine, strong and sure. For the first time in years, I felt my son, not the shadow of him. We sat, talking longer than we had in years. He told me about Olivia's lies, Amelia's desperation, and I listened, the rift between us closing. When I left, the photo on the table seemed brighter, like it held a new promise.
Later I met Ava at the park again.
She handed me a small key, its metal cool in my palm.
"Emmy's old office," she said.
"I've been holding on to it. We could use it for a charity project in her name. What do you say?" I turned the key over. It's weighed a new kind of key, unlocking a future I hadn't dared imagine. "I say it's time to start over," I said, my voice firm. Ava's smile was warm, her presence a comfort I hadn't known I needed. I drove home, the key in my pocket, my mind on Emmy. The cemetery wasn't far, and I felt her calling.
I needed to tell her it was done, that we were whole again.
The road stretched ahead, the morning bright, and I let myself breathe. The cemetery gate creaked as I pushed it open, the evening air soft with the scent of blooming lilacs. Emmy's grave was tucked beneath an oak, its leaves whispering in the breeze. I knelt, setting a bouquet of her favorite daisies against the headstone, their petals bright against the grey stone. The key to her old office was heavy in my pocket, a promise I'd carried here. I touched the headstone, the granite cool under my fingers, and let the words come.
"I did it, love," I said, my voice low, meant only for her. I showed them. "Olivia, Amelia, they're gone. Jason's back and he sees me now."
My throat tightened, but I smiled.
"You'd be proud, Emmy. I fought for us."
The sunset painted the sky in hues of gold and pink, its light softening the edges of the world. I sat back, the grass damp beneath me, and let the memories flood in. The dinner, Olivia's cruel laugh, Amelia's smirk.
They'd thought me nothing.
A relic to discard, but I'd unravelled their lies piece by piece. The USB I'd sent Jason exposing Olivia's con. The leak that bared Amelia's deaths. Ava's help, her sharp mind turning my plans into reality. It had been a war, and I'd won. Amelia was a pariah now, her name a whisper of scandal in the circles she'd once ruled. Olivia, stripped of her charm and her engagement, had slunk away, her schemes in tatters. Jason was emotionally damaged to see her reality. There was work to do. Plans with Ava, bridges to rebuild with Jason, a future to shape. I slipped the key from my pocket, its metal catching the sunset's glow. It felt right, a piece of Emmy I'd carry forward. I stepped through the gate, my car waiting beyond, its engine a soft hum when I started it. The road stretched into the dusk, the horizon bright with possibility.
I drove, the key in my hand, the world opened before me.
If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.